Welcome to the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. For group exercise junkies and enthusiastic classgoers, we'll explore and uncover authentic, thought-provoking, and heartwarming industry education and inspiration from entertaining, badass fitness pros. And now your host, creator of Warrior Rhythm, Warrior Strength, Warrior Combat, Warrior Revolution, and Warrior Kids Group fitness brands, Ellen DeWord. Here we grow.
Hello, everybody. Happy almost 2025. Depending on when you're listening to this, actually, maybe happy 2025. I am tuning in from Philly. I'm here on the East Coast with Diva, and we are hanging out, celebrating kind of a few things. And also, I'm doing this like East Coast. We have kind of this East Coast hub and we're getting together. We're rallying some of our warriors out here. I'm going to be doing a special event at her studio. And so Philly's cold. People, Philly is cold and wet. Someone in my class, right before I left, I was letting them know that I was going to be gone. They were going to have some subs and they were like, no, Philly's not just like cold. It's like bone chilling cold. So anywho, let's dive into the topic today, a new year approach. And first, before we jump into all things New Year's and should you have New Year's resolutions, what's my opinion about all that stuff? Before we go there, I want to look back and talk about 2024 as it first pertains to this show and you. And I wanted to say thank you so much for your support of this podcast this last year. We never missed a Monday for an entire year. It's pretty awesome. I'm going to go over some stats with you about you. Are you ready? You are 90% female, this audience, 90% female. Most of our listeners are ages 35 to 44. However, this was not a very steep bell curve, not bell curve, bar graph. It was very close. Like all the different age brackets were very close. So it wasn't age 35 to 44 by a landslide. It was barely that age group is the number one age bracket for listening to the show, but literally there were people under the age of 17 and people over the age of 60. That's as far up as the graph went. So that's who's listening. 92% of our listeners are from the United States, but we have people that have tuned in from 48 countries. Most of you are listening from Apple. Let's see. I actually only put this podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, and then of course I upload it to Warrior's YouTube channel. And most people don't watch on YouTube, but every once in a while, one of those YouTube videos goes bonkers and gets a ton of views. But for the most part, the majority of our listeners use Apple. 92 of you, like that's a lot of people for what I'm about to say. 92 of you. This is the number one podcast you listen to, like the number one. It's the number one podcast you listen to. Those of you, our listeners, you, the three podcasts you listen to the most is number one, Joe Rogan. Number two, The Toast, which I found really interesting because I've never even heard of it. I've never heard of it. What is The Toast? People tell me. And the third podcast that you, our listeners, listen to the most is Mind Pump, Raw Fitness Truth. So Joe Rogan, The Toast, and Mind Pump. But 92 of you listen to this podcast more than any other podcast in the world. That's pretty sweet. It's a pretty nice statistic to find out about. Let's see. The average rating for this show is 5 stars. Thank you so, so, so much. I believe we've only ever had one 4-star rating. I don't know, there wasn't a description why it wasn't a 5. But let's see what else about statistics. The episode why you should lift off the beat of the music, why you should lift weights off the beat, that one had the most comments ever. Let's see. Spotify, that's who gave me this. You know how Spotify does like your year-end recap. Spotify also is the home of my podcast. So it's kind of like home base, and Spotify disseminates it to the other channels, meaning Apple and YouTube. And Spotify says that my podcast, it considers it storytelling. And let's see. Okay. My two little gold star listeners out there, I want to give a shout out to Siri Shalazi, who listens to every single episode. I mean, maybe some others of you do too. I'm sure that others of you do too, but she just happens to tell me. So I know for a fact that she listens to every single one. I think on 1.8 speed, but you know what? That's great. And then Sabrina, who was, Joyful Metamorphosis from last week's episode, you heard that story. If you listened, she binged 16 hours worth of this show and has basically I think has caught up. So in any event, Sabrina and Siri, I wanted to give you guys special kudos for being amazing supporters of the show. And hey, if anyone else out there has never missed an episode, let me know. All right, before we dive into tonight's topic, I wanted to let you know about an exciting little new direction. It's very subtle. It's nothing earth-shattering that I want to take a different sort of, I want to blaze a different trail in 2025 with you. I want to I've already invited, it's happening. People, I'm making a big announcement here. Nicole Printon, who has done this show with me as a guest many times, we are officially going to put her in the rotation with a sort of subcategory, kind of a separate sort of segment of the show, if you will, called Nutrition Bite. So little nutrition bites with Nicole Printon coming your way. You can anticipate those to be sprinkled in every couple months or so. Nutrition Bite with Nicole Printon. And I also am going to pepper in some episodes that are called Off Topic. Off Topic, as is pretty intuitive, and you might guess by the name, means it's not going to be about group fitness. It's going to be off topic. Who knows what I'm going to talk about? I have some ideas. Just because now that we've been together for over a year, I feel like we're kind of friends now. So maybe this is an opportunity for us to get to know each other, or for you to get to know me, as the case may be, a little bit more personally, outside of the realm of group exercise. So, and in fact, if there are some things that you want to know about or hear about, like why did I get a bodysuit tattoo, wrist to ankle, for example, that's not on the topic of group exercise, but that could be something we could do. So if you have anything you want me to go over, do I get Botox? What do I think about it? Like anything like that, you let me know. All right, now let's dive into the reason this episode exists. That was so dramatic. Let's dive into the topic tonight. How about? And kind of talk about, as New Year's. And I know some people think, some people get heated about New Year's resolutions because there's like almost a stigma attached to a New Year's resolution, like almost a negative stigma, like it won't happen. Like people don't stick to their New Year's resolutions. I guess I have to say that I am a fan of New Year's resolutions. I guess I would qualify that by saying it doesn't matter to me if it happens a new year. I just am a fan of goal setting and zooming out of our on our lives, like getting a big bird's eye perspective. I actually really like to do this kind of activity when I'm on vacation, when you're kind of like out of your life and out of your world, and like really getting a bird's eye view of your life. And it's just a different, sometimes you get a different perspective when you're not home. When you're up in an airplane or your toes are in the sand, or you're away from your troubles, and you just kind of like get a different perspective. But in any event, I'm a big fan of a big advocate for goal setting and reflection, self-reflection, evaluating, and then splintering off actionable to-do lists to help us achieve those goals. So I guess I'm going to start with, yes, I think you should do it. If you haven't yet, I think you should. Yes. And I think the top of a new year is a great time to do it, because it feels psychologically like a blank slate, like a new canvas, kind of like on the micro, like the Monday of the week feels for our fitness and for our members when they come to our classes. Monday's like a blank slate, even if they've, kind of fell off their eating habits or exercise habits over the weekend or for months and months. Like Monday's a new deal, and 2025, new year, blank slate, blank canvas. So what do you want to paint? What do you want to paint? Okay, first, my first little nugget for you, and I'm going to be quick tonight, is count your blessings. Start there. Start in your self-reflection mode with, like, what are you grateful for when you look back on 2024? And I guess I'm going to share with you my little list. I'm not going to go through and give you examples from my life of each of my kind of tips for this exercise, but I will with count your blessings. So just kind of looking at 2024, and this is in the professional realm. We can talk about personal goal setting as well too, but right now I'm just talking about professionally. I had a very rich year, rich with blessing and joy, and it was bountiful and very beautiful. I was nominated the Group Fitness Instructor of the Year by IDEA. I launched a cycle certification, Warrior Revolution, in January of 2024. That program is amazing and growing. We launched Roots, a seniors program, an offshoot of Warrior Rhythm. Basically, Warrior Rhythm, our yoga format, yoga inspired format, adapted to a chair. So that's been going amazing. That's a huge, like 2 new formats. Holy crap, we have 6 programs now, and I don't even know how. We have grown, like our company has grown. So we are seeing new instructors, and that just has continued to trend upward since we opened our doors in 2020. So that's something to, celebrate. I left my job in admin, Holly freaking Luya, and went full-time. I want to say I went full-time warrior, but I already was full-time warrior. I was just trying to do full-time plus another job. So it's just, that's been, oh my gosh, just so incredible to be able to make that big kind of, at the time, that felt scary for me, leaving that job. And then we announced the Confidence Conference, aka the Con. So big, huge announcement. So those are kind of like my those are the things I'm most grateful for professionally, looking back at last year. So then my next kind of like couple tips for you as you go about maybe doing this drill, if you haven't already done so. I think it's important to kind of evaluate your weaknesses and also consider your strengths. Let's break that down for a second. I think it's important to consider both of these as it pertains to professional goals. Because, where you're weak, you might need some help, some outside help. Where you're strong, you might want to double down because that's where you're great. So think about those things before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of this process. So yeah, evaluate your weaknesses professionally. And yeah, I'm going to tell you mine, even though I said I wasn't going to. Some professional weaknesses of mine. I really have a very small master trainer team. I need more leaders. Another weakness of mine is growing my, this might be a little harsh. I might be overstating it as a weakness, but it's definitely an area I want to see growth in, is my email list. And then another weakness is just doing too much myself. Trying to do everything myself is a weakness. The strengths for me professionally, I mean, my work ethic, my creativity, and our programming is just so incredible. Programming, and of course, the culture of our community. Those are definitely our strengths. So those are things I want to double down on, hence the con, which is obviously one of my huge goals. Well, it's already happening. It's already in the works, but it's happening in 2025. Okay, so now let's get into it. Your first real big step now that you've counted your blessings, start there, start with gratitude, and consider where you're weak, where you're strong. And now you're just going to do a massive brain dump, throw spaghetti on the wall with where you want to be. Just get as creative as you can. By the way, I don't know about you, but my creative juices flow when I'm in a clean environment. So maybe before you do this, clean your house. I'm not kidding. Or be in a clean house or be in a clean room, because it unlocks parts of your brain when your brain's not distracted by clutter or mess. So do the dishes if you need to do the dishes, and then let's start throwing some spaghetti on the wall for your goals for 2025. Be crazy. There's nothing, nothing's out of bounds. Write it down. Make sure it's measurable, and isn't vague, and something that can't be measured. So like, I want to get rich. Like, is not a how we would want to frame that, I should say. Okay, so then once you have your brain dump, really organizing those into your goals, your hard goals. And then we want it to be, like I mentioned earlier, practical, actionable, measurable, and realistic. So once you have them kind of brainstormed out on a whatever notepad app in your phone, maybe it's a spiral notebook, maybe it's a big huge white sheet of butcher paper, maybe it's a big chalkboard, I don't know, where a dry erase board. Then you want to break them into 90 days, like quarters. Have I talked to you guys about the 12-week year before? It's an incredible book, and it suggests breaking your year up, the 12-week year, into 12 weeks. And then from there, even into months, and then just really giving action items. So I mentioned like an area that I was weak, that our company, I'd like to see growth, is in training, recruiting, and hiring master trainers. So if I want a measurable goal to be like 20 new master trainers in 2025, and then I want to break that into quarters. So 5 per quarter is a great goal, a sub goal of the 20 per year. And then, so what's it going to take to get 5 master trainers each quarter? It's going to take 4 master trainer calls. It's going to take marketing campaigns. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take the whole follow through of watching film, receiving applications, giving feedback, setting up orientations and getting started right and putting new master trainers through our boot camp and so breaking it up, going from your brain dump to your hard goals, to your 12-week years, your every 90-day goals, to how those 90-day goals break down into months and even weeks and into basically your daily to-do list. So you just basically keep getting more and more granular with it. And in doing that exercise, you're going to find out if your goals are even realistic. If you have a goal of going on a Fit Bodies trip, rather than just say Fit Bodies trip, you need to like get as specific as you can, like spring break, April or March or whatever, Dominican Republic, teaching yoga or whatever. So, and then finally, once you've done that, I'm about to wrap up. Once you've done that, then it's like really time to manifest. It's time to manifest those goals. And I know that sounds woo-woo-y, but there's just some kind of magic that happens when we pen to paper our goals, and then we have them somewhere where we're going to see them on a regular basis. We're going to see them and be reminded of them. That really is what I mean by manifesting. I really believe it's putting out there the belief, and that's I've learned I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And I've learned when I write down my goals and manifest them that they come true. I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy kind of magic. So I'd love to hear from you. Do you do these exercises? Like, what do you think about goal setting, and have you done it? Do you think there's negative connotations associated with it? That kind of thing. And then I just wanted to say, kind of in closing, that you can and should do this exercise for your personal life as well. Count your blessings, like really count them. Like, how many can you write down? How many? At the top of my list, my personal list, I went to Europe for the first time last year, and I got a dog, which is just, those are like, getting a dog has been like such a joy in my life. If that can be an off topic episode, I can explain why. Yeah, and then go through like that drill, go through it for your personal life too. Evaluate your weaknesses. I don't rest enough. I don't paint enough. I don't read as much as I want to read. I'd like to pull the family together more. So go through like, what are your strengths personally? What are your personal goals? Maybe, I don't know. So that's all I got, people. And I love looking back at our stats for 2024. Thank you so much again for being part of our little history in the making. So I appreciate you guys. We're heading into a new year. It's really exciting. I can't wait to bring you off topic with me and Nutrition Bite with Nicole Printon. And most of your episodes are still going to be your main Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Happy New Year. Bye.
Thank you for joining in on the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. If you're interested in becoming a warrior instructor, go to warriorinstructors.com. But if you want more and found this episode amazing, please give us a rating. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to our next episode. So remember, be brave, be bold, be blessed. And above all, listen, learn, love.